Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink, I'm reviewing by request, and luckily I happen to have it. In fact, I happened to finish it the same day it was requested, which was rather amusing. Now, I do take requests, however, my supply of ink samples is ever shrinking because of how often I update. And I'm essentially running on donations right now. So while I do take requests, it's increasingly likely that I will not have the ink you want me to review. However, if I have it, I will happily review it. Yeah, that's embarrassing. Anyways, today's ink is Diamine Hope Pink. And the person who requested it actually knows that I have a fiery hatred for pink. And I do. If you've seen any of my previous reviews, I hate pink. And actually, largely why is because I am what is referred to as a girl. And so people constantly give me pink things, which is amusing because it is incredibly unflattering as a color, personally. So, yeah, the more people give it to me, the more I hate it. However, this pink, Hope Pink, is breast cancer awareness pink. And actually, this past year, 18 months, my mother has totally beaten breast cancer's butt for a second time. So I actually have a great emotional fondness for this shade of pink. However, I hate pink, so it's a very love-hate relationship. Yeah, I was actually thinking of saving this review until October, which admittedly is a while, but October is, of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it would also be the 1-year anniversary of my mom being in remission for a second time. So, yeah, God, if you love pink, this be pink. This be so pink. Holy God. In one of my write-ups, I actually call it Pilot Mixable Pink with much better behavior. My Pilot Mixable Pink was just like a wrecking ball. This actually kind of surprised me. Seriously though, if you like pink, if you like bright pink, if you like Easter pink, not pastel Easter pink, look into it. But yeah, so sample form request, here we go. 2 pens I used were these. I don't own any pink pens, shocker, right? This is a Parker Vector with a fine nib, and as you can probably tell, these nibs are pretty small, and the nibs are generally, the tines are pretty tight, so this is very moderate generally. And then I also had this Knox Avicenna with a broad nib. And this one can be a little bit wet on the downstrokes, but yeah, it's actually not so bad. So, comparisons. Now, admittedly, because I hate pink, I don't have a lot of pink, and I didn't select a lot of pink samples for my reviews over the years, so some of these won't be a spot-on match, but okay, so here's Diamine Hope Pink, and here's Pilot Pink, which looks darker, but if you look at the texture of this, this ink was so aggressive, it did bleed through this 35-pound, 25% cotton bond paper. So yeah. Noodler's Kinshiwan, which is maybe just slightly more magenta, a little darker, and also kind of a wrecking ball. So, yeah. Oh my god. Gerabon's Rose Cyclamen. This is definitely the kind of pink that I hate. This is also kind of hated, but this is like my nightmare pink. I also included Noodler's Dragon's Napalm, because mine is very orange, but apparently most people, theirs is very pink. So yeah. And then Diatramento's Dante Alighieri, which is actually kind of similar. I know it's not going to come up, but like there, where it's very thin, and here where it's very dark, are actually quite similar. So I almost feel like if you watered this down, you'd get something closer to this. So there we go, comparisons. Now let's check out the chromatography. Here is the normal chromatography, where I put the line of ink and instantly dunked it in the water. And as you can tell, I mean, that dot at the bottom is pretty dark, and there is a pretty solid band all the way up. And there is only pink in this pink. So this would suggest that there is some water resistance, and there is-ish. And then here's where I let it dry, where really it's identical. There is no change. Yeah, so now I wanted to see what this ink could stand up against, and the truth is it cleaned out of my pen very, very easily with water. It doesn't want to stick to things like plastic, so the plastic feed or the converter, that was fine. However, this ink does tend to bond with certain things, so I mean, once this hit paper, it didn't really want to wash off. It made a bit of a mess, and a lot of it did break up, but yeah, so water will get it moving. 1/3 bleach solution, as you might be able to tell, did barely anything. It might have softened it a little to a peach pink, but it did not get rid of it. Ammonia pen flush started to break it up, but it also started to break up the paper, so I softened it up pretty quickly. Hydrogen peroxide just kind of made it turn pastel. Now, here's the thing. When I do my water tests, when, you know, at the end of it, when I'm doing the water exams, I have it on my wooden desk. And when I would do the water test, if the water got through the paper and onto the table, it would take some of the ink with it off of the tests, and it dyed my wooden desk pink. And it would bond to the desk, and I couldn't wash it off with water or soap and water. The only thing that would get it out of the wood was isopropyl alcohol, 91%. So maybe if you're using this on a wooden desk, be careful. Yeah, so anyways, paper test, top down in density, Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. Yeah, God, this is so pink. Yeah, there isn't a ton of shading, but in part, I think it's just because this ink is so saturated. It is a very well saturated ink. You do see a little bit of shading through here, but in the writing, it's actually fairly subtle. There is some, but it's fairly subtle. So that fine vector took 17 seconds. The Avicenna took 22. Why is my camera freaking out? Yeah. So, I mean, it's actually, you know, this ink, unlike Pilot Mixable Pink, which was very poorly behaved, this was very well behaved. There was no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen. Now I'm going to flip this over, but that would be Ellis Island Blue Black. Apparently there was a drop on my desk, so when I put it down to do the water test and then, like, you know, moved it, it picked up some of Ellis Island Blue Black. So ignore that. But as you can see, there is no pink on this side of the page. Yeah. But yeah, so this is what I mean about it has some water resistance. It'll bond to the paper, but a lot of it will wash off, but then that water will then bond to the paper. So it will dye the page. It won't be the easiest thing to recover. There will be something there, but it'll turn your whole piece of paper into like pastel Easter pink. Next up is Fabriano. It's 85 grams per square meter. And yeah. God, it's so pink. And again, not a ton of shading. There's maybe a tiny little bit. Yeah, the vector took 15 seconds to dry. The broad Avicenna took 19. I'd say the flow is a 5.5, maybe a 6. So it is a little bit wet. So don't put it in something that's already out of control wet. I know I'm not going to get this on camera. Well, maybe I am. There's just the subtlest, it almost looks like tiny bits of gold glitter. It's not a solid, you know, band of gold. I'm not going to break out into song. But, yeah, it's just tiny hints of it. And you get it in, like, the odd place in the writing. Like maybe in that A, that bottom A, but, yeah. Yeah, not a ton of shading, but when there is, you know, you can kind of see it if you're paying attention. Very solid color. Never looks undersaturated. And again, very well behaved. No bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. I didn't notice the sheen until I was reading the notes, preparing to record this. Yeah, I don't think there's any echo. Very well behaved. But again, we see that it will dye paper a little, but a lot of little. So you can kind of make out the writing, but not much. And when you add water, you just, like, it picks up the ink, moves it around. When you go to blot it away, you get this. The dots are very clear, though, so that's weird. Next up is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where, again, very well behaved, you know? I mean, not a ton of shading, but there is a little. Here we don't really get that gold thing that we had before. The vector took 13 seconds. The broad Avicenna took 16, which really isn't bad when you consider how saturated this ink is and the fact that it was slightly wet and that's a broad nib. So, yeah, not bad. Yeah, it's quite the same all over again. It's well behaved, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen on here. And again, the water test is much the same. There's like the barest little bit left behind, and then it dyed the whole page, and just the dots are clear. Yeah. So, Next up is Tomoe River paper, which is very thin, so it can have some echo problems, but it's also known for drawing out shading and sheen and dry times, which it did, but not as much as I would have expected. That was me. That was it. Anyways, the vector took 20 seconds. The broad Avicenna took 23. But, and I laid it on pretty thick in the scrubbies because I wanted to make sure I could get this. There we go. Here it is more, I mean, it is a little hazy like you see in that top one, but in the bottom it's more like a halo sheen. And it's this bright, like, yeah, gold. I mean, it is like a true gold color. And the contrast with this pink, I'm sure there are people who would go gaga over this. Including Lady Gaga, probably. She loves ostentation stuff, so gold and bright pink would probably be right up her alley. Anyways, yeah, because of the way this paper works, it can kind of cause ink to pool in interesting ways, and it can make it look thin in some cases. Here, it never looks thin. Even in these smears, that is some pretty solid color. That is very pink, so it never looks undersaturated. If you are into this, the pink, and if you like gold, go for it. There's, of course, because it's Tomoe River, no bleed, no feather, no spread. There might be a little bit of echo, but that's probably human error, because I was laying it on really thick to try and make sure I could get some sheen on camera. But, I mean, some people are really sensitive to it, so, I don't know, be aware. And this paper loves to let ink slide away when you add more water, but honestly, I was not expecting this much to stay behind. It did dye the page, which doesn't always happen with Tomoe River because it loves to let ink slide away. But, yeah, that's comparatively pretty clear and pretty there. Not bad. Now, for the next 3 tests, I just used the fine vector, except to write the name. Now, here is the world's worst 20-pound copier paper. And if you've seen some of my previous tests, this paper really earns that name. But if we look here, okay, where is it? Okay, here. Not a lot of spread. Some, but not a lot. And if we bring it in, there's no feathering. There is none. That is my shocked face at realizing there is no feathering. 4 seconds to dry. Color is still very bright. A lot of times absorbent papers can almost like suck the vibrancy out of an ink. That is not the case here. But look, there is no feathering. None. Not even where I used the broad nib. Amazing, right? No bleed. None. This shocked the hell out of me. Honestly, I didn't know that there were so, like, I wish I loved pink. Holy mother of biscuits. What the heck? No feathering. Almost no spread. No bleed. Even in the broad nib. You get a little bit of an echoey thing, but no bleed. What the biscuits? Oh my god. Anyways, that shocked the hell out of me. So if you have to use a lot of cheap paper and you love pink, oh my god, go for it. Because this is the world's worst copier paper. If it can do this here, whoa, I can't even imagine. Anyways, I mean, oh my god, if you've seen the review of Violet Mixable Pink, this will just blow your mind. But yeah, anyways, as you can tell, I'm still shocked. Anyways, water test. Yeah, I mean, this paper is still this paper, so it does freak out when you add water. I mean, look at how it wrinkled up on itself. But that's mostly the paper. If we look at the stuff at the center, it did dye the page a bit, but look, it's pretty there, pretty clear. Didn't explode the way it sometimes can. Did dye the page and it did lighten up a bit, but seriously not bad. Now next up is Mead Notebook Paper. And this is, if you're familiar with Mead paper, there's sort of the nicer kind that you get in like the 5-star, notebooks, the spirals. And then there's the kind that you get in like a composition notebook that feels more like, almost like newsprint. This is the newsprint kind. And if you're familiar with newsprint or cheap paperbacks, it has that sort of spongy, broad pulp texture. So I was expecting terrible results. I did not get them. Look, there's even less spread than there is on the 20 pound. Again, there are no feathers. None. None. There's a slight woolliness, but considering, if you touch this paper, if you know what a very cheap paperback feels like, holy moly. And this is thinner than 20 pound. Now here, and it is up at the top of the page. You can see that this is the top of the page and the margin. And so here we get some stuff, but as we go further into the page, we get less and less. This is human error. This right here, because I went over it multiple times. So that was me causing problems. And again, this is a Western fine. And it's not the finest Western fine, so if you had this in a Japanese fine, it would probably be even better. Still so vibrant. Look at how bright this color is. 3 seconds to dry. Really surprised me. Maybe you get a little bit of an echo or a show through, but if you're sensitive to that, honestly, you're asking too much. But anyways, water test. This paper can kind of freak out when you add water, and it did a little. It did dye the page. It did really wrinkle up on itself, and its texture is bizarre. But look at that. Pretty clear, pretty dark, pretty there. Didn't feather, didn't explode. Here it spread, but not where it normally did. It was almost like it took adding water to make it spread. Not bad. Now, next up is Moleskine paper. Whereas I say here, why am I not shocked that Moleskine is where it falls apart? And this is why I hate Moleskine. Like a small, one of their small notebooks costs like $12 to $15. A ream of this costs, I think, somewhere between 99 cents and $1.99. And we get this. Yeah. We get feathering. And we get this gross woolliness. And we get this! The world's worst 20-pound copier paper is flawless. And we get this. This rendered onto the page below. This is why I hate Moleskine. Honestly, I think there's acidity in the paper or something, or maybe it's basic. Maybe it's not acidic and it just reacts to inks. I don't know, because I don't know why it reacts like this. I hate this paper. And look at this water test. It freaked out. Even on the really, really cheap awful papers, that didn't happen. Look at this. It feathered, it came apart, it dyed the page. The cursive things are starting to lump over themselves. Ugh. God. I hate Moleskine. You've seen my tests. Can you blame me? Gosh. Anyways, so there you go. There's Diamine's Hope Pink. In a word, wow. Both good and bad, because this is such a bright shade of ink, and I hate pink. However, I love what it stands for. Seriously, I mean, honestly, after dealing with this, to see what this can do, wow. Honestly, if you like pink, if you have to use cheap papers, check it out. And on premium papers, especially Tomoe River and Fabriano, you get this gold sheen. It's quite a contrast. Check it out. Seriously. For your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.